Listen, I know I'd promised to record this video a very, very long time ago, but life happens and things that you were meant to do just don't happen. But we're here now. The Photo Stories episode is finally here. So yeah, grab yourself something nice to drink, a little snack as well, and let's get to talking about photo stories. So, if you've been a part of this channel for a very long time, you'll know that there's this segment that I liked to do, which is called Photo Stories. And it was basically where I tell the stories behind some of my favorite pictures. I last did this a super long time ago. I don't know if I will add clips to show you what this looked like because, yeah, this is, God. Anyway, I wanted to bring that back. And I'm realizing now that I've been a story-driven person for a very, very long time. And so I think it would be great if we hopped into that again. But today I don't want to talk about any random photos, but I want to focus on the pictures that have to do with my spiritual life. So I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and as I've grown up, I've grown to appreciate my faith a whole lot more. So today's photo stories is dedicated to that, my walk with God, basically. So I'm trying to figure out which picture to start with here because there's quite a few, so this might actually be a very long episode. But I think maybe this picture would be the perfect one to start off with. Me using my camera in God's presence. So lately, whenever someone asks me how would I describe myself, I finally know what I'll say. Because now I say I am a child of God with a camera. I started off taking pictures 2017, and I was just doing what I needed to do, going out into the streets, having shoots with friends, gigs, whatever. And in the last few years, I have tried to hone in my skills more towards God and seeing what I can do with that, and that's why I've filmed the documentary, I have had shoots at church, and this picture was taken at a youth rally. Going to church with my camera was never my thing. I was never a fan of it because it kind of felt like work to me, like I'm taking my work to church. But then at the same time, I'm realizing that it only felt like work because it actually was work, It's not like something that was God-given. So this picture is kind of capturing the change in how I relate to my camera, because now it's just like me capturing whatever I'm seeing with my eye for memories, And there was so much more that happened on this day. Yeah, these other pictures will be stuff that was happening throughout. So for this rally, all I was meant to do was, I wasn't really meant to do anything actually, if I remember correctly. All I was planning to do on the day was just to have my camera with me and take pictures and videos. It was my sister who was actually involved in the program. But no, tell me why, before we start Sabbath school, one of the first segments in our Sabbath day, before we had Sabbath school, she's like, oh yeah, CJ, can you please come up with me? The person who was supposed to pray isn't gonna be able to pray. And I'm thinking to myself, I wasn't prepared for this. But okay. I've grown very comfortable, and I am comfortable in front of large crowds, and this was a huge, very big crowd, but I was comfortable being in front of everyone. I think it's because there's something that a friend of mine told me about speaking in front of people, especially at church, and it's that you need to have a righteous confidence. You're not bragging, you're not having a big head, but you have a righteous confidence, that confidence that's saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's what I've felt like in my spiritual walk lately, because I can really see that God has really taken me from one place, and really he's brought me far. God has truly brought me very far. And speaking of the documentary, I liked this picture, and I put it on my status the one day saying the theme was photographers, the theme was people with a documentary, because the gent behind me, Leslie, he was part of the filming crew for the Rising Voices documentary, and oh man, you don't understand how grateful I am for him and Sizwe and all the work that they did in making that project possible. I'll never forget them, literally, because our work will always be out there for people to see, and I really hope that I get to work with them again soon. And I guess that gives us a perfect segue into the next set of photos, which are from the documentary premiere itself. This, there hasn't been a project that I have put more time into and that has strained me and has made me this proud all at once. I think we've worked on this documentary for like 6 months, which is a very short time compared to how long documentaries usually take. But man, you know that thing when they say delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart? That's exactly what this was. Because this documentary was not for people to see me. I wasn't doing it for views. I wasn't doing it for likes, popularity, none of that. When we said we were going to film the Rising Voices documentary, it was purely for people to hear the stories of people who love music and people who use their talents for God, you know. And there was just, I'm just surrounded by talent. Let me just put it like that. I'm surrounded by people with amazing voices, and I'm only now finding my voice, okay? But I've always been an appreciator of music because of my family. And so to then hear that my friends can sing the way that they do, I have friends who have recorded music and uploaded it to streaming services. There's friends with music videos. It's mind-blowing, honestly, mind-blowing, because you can really see that when you do something for God, you surrender yourself into His hands, and then He is like, let me take over and I'll finish off the job for you. And also that's exactly how the documentary felt. It was like we said, okay, God, we want to start this, you know. And I remember in one of my prayers I said, God, I want to work on this project for you, and there's so many things that I need that I can't do myself, so please finish the job. And He really did. I'll tell you what, God did so much for us in this documentary that I honestly felt overwhelmed by just how much and how beautiful it turned out, how many people there were. We had catered for 200 people to show up, and we made people pre-order their tickets so that we have up to 200 people. Now, tell me why on the day more people showed up and they'd be like, I don't buy a ticket, but I wanted to know if I could pay now. And I wasn't going to be able to turn them away because they were here, and it wasn't about the money, it wasn't about having a perfect event. It was about us spending time together, giving the singers the spotlight and giving God the spotlight, you know. There's this one picture here of a friend of mine, and she, just from the picture you can tell that she enjoyed herself, okay. I've been a person who is always between cultures in my time in South Africa, and on one end I know very conservative Adventists, and on the other hand I wouldn't say they're liberal, but they're very expressive in their faith. So on this day we had people from far and wide, those very different cultures, and the thing with this documentary was those different cultures then got to meet together, and seeing people coming from so far and so wide and from so many different backgrounds was not something that I was expecting, because we had people from as far as Ulundi, Port Shepstone, Pietermaritzburg. There were people from Bluff, Pinetown, Queen, far and wide. Okay, many of my worlds collided this one night. And one of my favorite memories was hearing from a family friend of ours, an old white lady, and she was sitting next to these really young youth, I think from like Port Shepstone or something, people we've never met. And then this lady tells us that, the people that were there were so nice. They even shared popcorn with me. And it was not our doing, honestly. The way things turned out was not our doing. It certainly was God. And I'm glad that we took that risk and that everyone was on board to make this happen. I mean, I had friends come through that I hadn't seen in such a long time. And I mean, this hasn't really happened in our area, like a documentary like this, but people just believed in it, and people were willing to come see what's happening, and I really appreciate them for all that they did. And hopefully we get to make another one soon. I have to put a highlight specifically on this group, on Favored, because I don't know how and I don't know why, but our paths crossed so many times with Favored, and yeah, we're tight. Okay, we've worked together a lot. They've come through for me a lot, and I've come through for them a lot. I think it started like 2022 or 23, I can't remember. But I was stuck in Zim for 7 months, and there was Global Youth Day, where the youth from the Adventist churches all over the world, they have a day specifically dedicated to going out into the community and cleaning up and sharing the word and inviting friends, giving out food, praying with people, anything like that. So I wanted to have an afternoon program at church with music, mini concert basically. So I spoke to someone from Favored, and I'm like, would you be willing to go to Bluff Church and perform for us? Mind you, I wasn't there, but they were like, sure, we'll go. And when they agreed, I was taken back, and I'm like, oh, okay. And they went through. Then when I contacted them and I said I'm working on a documentary, they're like, yeah, sure, let's work on it. I'm like, oh, okay. And they called me through for the recording for two of their songs, and for the music video. And then on the night, unfortunately, some of their members had to leave and go to other provinces for school, work, whatever. But I still wanted to have them involved on the day, and they came through, and they were the choristers for the day. It was just my way of saying, you are a part of this. As much as you won't be able to perform your songs, you are a part of this. I mean, yeah, sure. Our sound system was kind of a hit and a miss, but they nailed it. They knew what they were doing, and yeah, I really do. I do appreciate all that they've done. And listen, I don't really want to talk about myself in these photo stories, but I just have to speak on this picture. I was not someone who liked dressing formally growing up, especially at church. I didn't like suits, no. I didn't like formal shirts. I didn't even like tucking in. And it was like this with one of my friends as well. And my sister, well, everyone at home looks at us now and they say, hey, look at y'all wearing suits. You're looking nice, prim and proper, got leather shoes, belts, all that. What happened? And I guess it's growth, you know? There's phases that you go through as a child, and some things just don't sit well with you. And I think it's important for you to go through those phases and actually pick what you want in life, rather than being forced into a mold and say this is the kind of Christian that you're supposed to be. I really appreciate my family for not doing that. All they said is just, let's go to church, okay? And then when we're at church, figure out who you want to be. And I've certainly figured out the kind of Christian that I am because I was given that freedom to figure it out for myself. And now, yeah, I really, really like suits, and I like dressing formally because I believe that the way I hold myself is also in its own way of praising God and saying, yeah, I believe that I was fearfully and wonderfully made. Sticking with the theme of church, this is such a precious picture to me. These are members that we've been with at Bluff Church ever since we moved there. 17 years now. And this picture was taken on the day of my parents' farewell because we will be leaving. And this granny that has her head on my shoulders has been someone who has just been loving ever since. You know how just in a year's time a person can change, and someone who was once close to you and had a special place in your heart can end up being the complete opposite. Not her. She has been supportive, she has been lovely ever since, and I'm so glad I got to take this picture with her because that's how close we were. That's truly how close we were. And to eventually leave will be difficult because this has been home. This is who I was. This is the reason I am who I am today. They are the reason that my faith has grown so much. So yeah, it's gonna be difficult, but I thank God for planting me here for the time that He did, because now I know that wherever I go, God will be with me. And I pray that God will be with them as well. I think this image is an answered prayer visualized. So 2022, I honestly don't remember the dates. God, wow. But I have a page, group, whatever, called Humans of Adventism, and we started it as a way for Adventists all over to connect. And I know I really haven't done anything on that group for a very long time, and we'll bring it back, I promise. But with Humans of Adventism, we planned to have a picnic with God, and it's only been one, and life happens. I wanted to have more, but it's okay, we had the one. And we went to a park. So many people actually came through, more than I thought would actually be there. And we had such a good afternoon together. One of my prayers this year was for God to surround me with more people who love Him, more people who are like-minded, more people who love God more than me, so that I can aspire to be at the same amount of love as they have, if that makes sense. And when I see this picture, I can see God's answered prayer, because this was a Sunday afternoon where we could have been doing anything else, but we chose to go and sit in a park and praise God together. We had lovely conversations, we got to know each other, we made new friends, people got hurt, and we formed a bond, and we all still keep in touch to this day from that very day. And I have to give a shout out specifically to the Youth 412 crew, because for me to be the creator of Humans of Adventism Africa, it's because of the inspiration that I got from this team. And seeing that as young people, you can be a leader within the church, you can be someone who provides something meaningful, and you can help people grow spiritually. And I truly appreciate for all that they've done. I appreciate them for all that they've done. And I hope that God will continue using them, that our paths will cross again, that we get to collaborate on a lot more. There's a big event coming later this year, and I know for sure I have to get involved in it somehow. But man, again, delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart, because this was definitely a desire for my heart. And wow, what a time. So this picture looks very, very random. Okay, what are we doing looking at a plane? But the reason why this is special to me, after I think 3 months of being in the Zim, and something that was supposed to take a very short time, I was very homesick, and we decided that, you know what, we're gonna go back home, my mother and I, and we took a flight. So we bought tickets, and this was my first flight, and I got to enjoy it with my mother. And we flew out on a Saturday morning. We flew on the Sabbath, right? So this was 6 a.m. flight, I think. And we saw the sun rise over the horizon, got into the plane, took off, and we were above the clouds. And there is something special about seeing the world from that up high, because you get to see from a different perspective. The scale of this world makes absolutely no sense, and you still haven't seen the entire world at once. But wow, I was in awe. I was just looking out the window for the entire, almost 2-hour flight, just in shock at just how much God made such a perfect world with clouds that are necessary for some days, sunlight, and how just passing over from one city to another, the weather is completely different. You see the time change while you're in the air. It was lovely. And what made it even better was that we arrived at home, I think around 7 in the morning. So there was still time for us to get ready and go to church. So we were like, you know what? Might as well do that. So we all got dressed, all got changed, and went to church, and there was a music day. So we came back to just a full day. It's a beautiful day. And it was that day I really got to worship God differently and for different reasons, because this time I was praising Him for His creativity, His wonderful works, and this world that He has created. I can't explain it better than that. It was amazing to see. There's so many more pictures that I could share, but I think we'll stop it there. My faith has really grown in the last few years, and it's not my own doing. It's God and the people around me who have made it possible for me to be where I am today. And I know that we're in this age where it's easy to ridicule the idea of God. But I think the fact that everyone is looking for somewhere to belong shows that there is something naturally in us that cries out for belonging, you know? The fact that there's so many religions just shows that there's people looking for their creator. And I'm glad I found mine, because He has brought me from a young man, shy, timid, not being able to, being able to speak, but not really confident in myself, to someone who is willing to be in front of hundreds of people. It's not my own doing, it's God. And if I can say anything to anyone, it's just find God for yourself. Don't do religion. Do a relationship with God. Find God. Ask God to take you to the truth. Ask God to show you the way. Ask God to lead you to people who will help you grow spiritually, and He will give you that. And I can say that confidently because it's happened for me. yeah, that's the life of a child of God with the camera. It's been really good filming once again. It's been good getting back on my feet. I don't know if we'll be consistent, but I hope we will. But if we don't, at least there's this video. I also wanted to say, if you would like podcasts as videos like this, let me know and I can record, but we might start that after the whole move, so in a couple of months. But with that being said, thank you all for being tuned in to this episode of Photo Stories. If you enjoyed it, share it with a friend. If you liked it, like it, and subscribe, do all the things. There's plenty more to come. There's plenty more projects. There's plenty ideas running in this head. So stay tuned to the channel because, yeah, your boy is back creating. He is back creating. But that's it from me today. Take care, and I will see you soon.